Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to talk about a piece of land in Africa that's been stuck in this weird kind of limbo for, wow, almost 50 years now. It's a place that has a flag, it has a government, but for most of the world, it isn't officially a country. And that, right there, is the puzzle of Western Sahara.
So how does that even work? How can a place be right there on the map, but its actual status as a country is still one of the biggest question marks on the planet? This is the core riddle of Western Sahara, a huge stretch of land on the North African coast that's caught in a tug-of-war over its own identity. And look, this isn't something that just popped up yesterday. This is one of the longest-running territorial disputes in the entire world. It makes you ask some pretty basic questions, right? Like, who actually gets to speak for this place, and why on earth has it been stuck like this for so long? To figure that out, we've got to rewind the clock.
To really get a grip on the stalemate we see today, we need to go back and look at one single pivotal year that basically kicked this whole thing off.
That year is 1975. See, before then, things were kind of simple. Western Sahara was a Spanish colony. But in '75, Spain just up and leaves. They withdraw their administration, and in a flash, they create this huge power vacuum. Suddenly, the territory is wide open, and competing groups rush in to claim it, lighting the fuse on a conflict that's still burning today.
So who were these groups that rushed in? Well, at the heart of this whole disagreement, you've got two main players, and each one has a completely different vision for what Western Sahara should be.
On one side, you've got Morocco. They say Western Sahara is historically and fundamentally part of their kingdom, period. But pulling in the complete opposite direction, you have the Polisario Front. They declared an independent state called the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, or SASDR, for the local Sahrawi people. So, yeah, two totally irreconcilable claims for the exact same piece of land. With two sides at a total impasse, what does the rest of the world do? This is where the United Nations comes in. The UN uses a special, very technical term here. They call Western Sahara a non-self-governing territory. In plain English, that's just the UN's official way of saying, hey, the people who live here haven't had the chance to decide their own future yet. It's a neutral classification that very deliberately avoids picking a side.
The UN's careful, neutral stance really points to a much bigger problem. This whole situation isn't just a local issue. It creates these diplomatic shockwaves that travel all over the world, forcing every other country to tread very, very carefully.
Honestly, there is absolutely zero global consensus on this. The world map is a complete patchwork. Some countries officially recognize the SADR as an independent nation. Others are firmly in Morocco's camp, and a whole bunch of others just try to stay out of it entirely. And to make it even messier, these positions aren't even permanent. Countries have been known to flip-flop over the years.
And this chart really shows you how that plays out in the real world. Morocco controls about 80% of the territory, and in that zone, it acts as the de facto authority, meaning they're the ones in charge on the ground. They operate full embassies and consulates. The SADR, on the other hand, has smaller representative offices. And this is a really important point. The kind of diplomatic setup you see on the ground tells you a lot more about who holds the practical power than who has international agreement.
Okay, so it's a complicated diplomatic stalemate. But so what? Why does any of this matter outside of the world of politics? Well, because this unresolved status has incredibly real, tangible consequences that affect everything from airspace to global trade.
Just think about it for a second. Who controls the airspace for international flights? Who has the legal right to sell off the rich phosphate deposits or the fishing rights in the Atlantic? Who's responsible for border security in a pretty volatile region? And hey, are trade deals signed by Morocco even legally valid in this territory? These are not just academic questions. They have massive economic and security implications every single day.
It all comes down to this one simple idea. Disputed sovereignty has real-world effects. This isn't just some debate for diplomats in fancy rooms. This uncertainty on paper directly shapes people's lives, their economies, and the stability of an entire region.
When you zoom out, Western Sahara is basically a textbook case of what happens when the process of decolonization gets left unfinished. You're looking at a perfect storm, a collision of three powerful forces: an unresolved legal status, the hard reality of who holds power on the ground, and a very cautious international community that's hesitant to force an outcome. And so that leaves us with the one giant, unanswered question that hangs over this whole thing. When a territory is stuck in this kind of legal and political limbo, with no final status the world agrees on, who actually gets to write its future? It's a question that, for now, has no answer.